What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Yugi Dudes. We got Dante.
And Chris, returning for another video today.
As you notice, I changed shirts. I just didn't want the tank top on anymore.
I didn't bring any other shirts. We're still on the same recording day, so this is going to be, you're going to see the maroon for a while. This shirt is like one of my bigger shirts from when I was still losing weight.
You'll probably come over and we'll figure out some more subjects to talk about Saturday.
Yeah.
Things to do.
So, what I want to talk about today is links. Links are still a hotly debated topic in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh God,
Today.
yes they are.
Yeah, I mean, you got the old school people. You know, sometimes earlier cards, or like earlier enthusiasts, or like people who are like moded to like past decks. You know, they want to spam synchros all day long. They want to spam
XZs, fusions, whatever they can,
pendulums,
whatever they can do.
Anything that they can
Fuck
summon,
pendulums.
anything that they can summon 1,000 times in a turn. They want to keep doing it. And, you know, prior to the, what they call Master Rule 4, which was like where links got introduced, like the things got changed, all the, you know, special summoning rules. So first off, what is a link monster? Well, for those of you returning to a game, a link monster...
Use my camera because it's clear.
A link monster has these little arrows all over it, and like the ones lit up show you where you can special summon extra deck monsters. So when the field got changed, they added these little arrows to it, and they added another zone called the Extra Monster Zone. The first place that you have to play an extra deck monster is the Extra Monster Zone. And in order to summon more, you have to have a link monster that points to your zones on the field. So if you're like have a link monster that's like a link rating 1, it'd probably have an arrow pointing straight down, meaning you can special summon other extra deck monsters, other, you know, your fusions, your synchros, your XCs, or other link monsters into the zone directly below. And then other arrows point to the other spaces, and you can summon to those zones as well. The higher you go, like Link 2s, you know, have 2 arrows, Link 3s have 3 arrows, 4 have 4 arrows, and we don't have anything higher than Link 4 right now, but I'm theorizing they're going to be coming.
That'd be kind of OP as shit, possibly, depending on the ability.
Well, I mean, we'll probably see Link 5s, Link 6s. But anyway, so the pros and cons of this are obvious. But links have now been out for over a year. They first came out in a set called Code of the Duelist that came out in like, July, August or so last year?
Something like that.
I can't remember exactly when. I'm not going to bother looking it up right now.
It's only a year-old format.
And they followed the footsteps of pendulums. You know, Maximum Crisis was the last pendulum set, and so Code of the Duelist being the first link set. Naturally, this set up a firestorm controversy because all of a sudden, in order to do spam stuff, you had to run these links. And people, you know, it was a very polarizing topic. Some people were like, "Oh yes, this is great," you know. You can no longer pendulum for 5 for free every turn. That's kind of where I'm actually in this boat. Or people are like, oh no, I can't, you know, summon like 5 synchro monsters in the same turn with my, you know, I guess if you're going to go with an outdated deck, X-Sabers, or I can't, I guess
It nerfed a lot of decks.
It did for a little while.
But it made some more powerful too.
It did. And we'll get to like...
I mean, heck, and Zectors are getting... They've got links again.
Yeah, they got...
They're getting some support again.
They got their Inzektor Pico Flaney, or whatever it's called, in Flames of Destruction. And that's just good for insect decks in general. But then it was like... perhaps one of the best synchro decks that I ever saw was the junk spam deck, where it was like you went into like 1,000 synchros in a turn, you looped everything with like Level Leader, and you did... you got Formula Synchron out, and you got you just, you know, TG Hyper Librarian, you know, all over the board, and you were going for like Shooting Quasar Dragon. You know, if the deck was really good, you could get 3 of them out. You know, Shooting Quasar is basically a once per turn nope, but you can do, you know, 3 of them every turn, and so you could just like negate, and it was just a super broken strategy, and people were kind of like pissed that when it seemed like the way links were going to work was that you couldn't do it anymore. But then they also introduced the concept of extra link, where if you have your link monsters pointing with their arrows pointing all the way from one extra monster zone to the other, you could have the other extra one as well, because you can only have one extra monster zone at a time. In addition, then you can summon your synchro stuff, but we all kind of know what that does by now.
Run somewhere, Kay?
So
Running
Why?
somewhere?
Yeah, just in case.
Okay.
So why are links good? Well, for one, it does stop those sort of like for free plays, as I call them.
Yeah. For anyone wondering, this is all pros and cons of it.
Right.
Everything's got pros and cons.
Exactly, and
Except Basic Insect. It's a con.
Damn right.
no,
This is the one who built Basic Insect OTK. Next year's meta, I guarantee it. Next year's meta, Basic Insect OTK.
are you high?
No.
Okay,
So you
then.
know the rules are coming out.
I'd shit if it was.
It's not going to happen. But anyway, so the pros and links, it does slow down those. Oh, we're gonna pendulum for 5 every single turn, and we're going to, spam the board with synchros all the time. And you can still do synchro spams, but you just have to do an extra step in there. You can't have like 15 synchro monsters in your deck and just go ham with the synchro plays anymore. So in a way, I think that's really good. Pendulums, when they come from the extra deck, they go to the main monster zones, unless you have an extra monster zone open, in which case they have to go there. So you can't pendulum for like 3 or 4 every turn anymore. So that's a good pro to me, because I don't like sitting and watching my opponent just play a turn for like 15 minutes straight.
Yeah, that'd be boring as hell.
Exodia.
No, Infernities.
Yeah, I remember.
Infernities set up their turn, and it's like...
I remember Dueling Network made that one clear.
Yeah, in a tournament setting, you have 40 minutes for a round. And when your opponent is just setting up and setting up and setting up, they eat up a lot of clock, and then you would go into time a lot, especially against these really spammy decks. And I'm in a way, I personally am glad that they did it this way. I'm on the pro side of links, but I can see the next side of like, well, if you want to do the spams, now you got to go through the extra steps. And links themselves, they can't be in defense position. They can't ever go face down because of their link arrows. They do have their drawbacks, and their attack values are kind of They're, I guess you could call it pro Oricon. They aren't affected by things that affect levels or ranks. They don't have one. Their link rating is just a different thing. That kind of like replaces level and rank. And there are cards that say if you have a card that says a link rating of blah 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 or less, then you can do this.
Yeah, like you'll notice here, I'm going to take it out of sleeve. Crusadia Regulex, Link Monster, Link 2. Has no level, no stars. He's just got, see right here, is his Link rating.
Yeah.
Link 2.
And
the Link rating is obviously how many arrows they've got too. So Link 2 has 2 arrows.
Well, it's also for like how many like monsters you really need for it. Like the way you can like technically go into Firewall Dragon, it says 2+ monsters, but in order to go into a Firewall Dragon just with regular everyday main deck monsters, you would need 4 of them. But say you have like a Link 3 like Decode.
Grab me paper towels. Dylan, grab me paper towels. Quick.
You couldn't say please.
Fuck that, I got Mountain Dew. They're hanging up on the counter. See? To your right. Hanging. Up. There, bring me the whole roll.
I'm gonna edit this part out.
This is not edited. Sorry.
Not yet. Well, it's gonna be.
I don't have editing software, so...
Oh, great. So the whole thing's gonna be in the video.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, I spilled some Mountain Dew, everybody.
Yeah.
Like a dumbass.
Well, I call you Captain Dumbass for a reason.
Eat me.
Kiss my ass.
You couldn't afford that.
Wouldn't want to. Anyway,
Can't
so
afford my services.
it's my line. In order to summon like a Firewall Dragon using just main deck monsters, you would have to use 4 regular monsters from your deck, or like Scapegoat's like a really good way to do it. But if you have, say, like a Link 3 monster like Decode Talker, you can do it with Decode Talker for Link 3.
Went to Casey's.
Okay.
And you could use like 1 other monster. That's why Firewall Dragon says 2+ monsters, because then you could use just 2 monsters. So I can see where, in a con sense, in a way, links do require more resources, in a sense, to go into. And if you want to keep summoning, more extra deck monsters, you're going to want to go for the bigger link monsters, and you use the smaller ones as stepping stones to get there. overall, it's really up to you at the end of the day whether you like them.
Yeah, and really, originally starting out, I wasn't a huge fan of links because I didn't get it, and that's a big thing. A lot of people don't get it. I wasn't a big fan because it's like, okay, well, I gotta have this, or I can't summon like 39 Utopia. It's like, okay, and then it was, it started coming out more, explaining, okay, I'd have to put it in the extra monster zone instead of a link. But that's the only one I can play. I mean, I can play others, but I have to get rid of it.
Well,
so it would have to be part of that play.
And that was the thing, though. I mean, like, if you were, like, playing over the same Xyz monster, like, you go into Utopia, then you go into, like, the next step up, and then you go to Utopia the Lightning, you can keep that same spot there. You can do those 3 Xyz summons as long as you're playing them on top of the original one. Or, like, another, common one is, like, Cyber Dragon Nova, and then going into Cyber Dragon Infinity. You can use the extra monster zone that you have to go right into Nova and then immediately then into Infinity without having to go through extra steps. But it was people's complaints with it was not being able to summon very easily get out 3 shooting Quasar Dragons or getting out a whole bunch of things instead of having those extra zones. Well, like now we got Saryuja Skull Dread, which has 3 zones that do point to your own field. So you can theoretically summon, the 3 shooting Quasar Dragons. Yeah, everyone got Saryujas now.
Yeah. Another big thing I had always, one of my biggest complaints was that little arrow right there at the top that points to your opponent's side of the field. It's one of those, why would I want to give my opponent an extra area to summon? Well, I can show you something that was helping me.
Kaijus,
definitely. But the Kaijus helped me with Crusadia Equimax.
Yeah, but
anything he's pointing at, he gains its attack.
But that's kind of getting into the specific uses of it.
I know, but it's usually it's going to be advantageous to your Link monster.
Yeah, but at the same time, Links do have to have that drawback of where if you have more than 3 arrows, which cards like Saryuja and Firewall and
does Borreload have 3?
Borreload has 4, but they point. Borreload. None of them actually point to your opponent.
Okay, so one of them's to the left or right.
They have. I think Borreload is left, right, and then down, right, and down left.
I was gonna say you can look. You have one in your fucking deck.
I'm not going to bother pulling it out right now.
So you'd have to do Matt with a bigger case.
Borreload is one that ultimately is a really good card. But yeah, I mean the advantages and disadvantages. Decode Talker was one of the first Link monsters we got in the very first starter deck that came out with the Link era, and it has the down right, down left arrows, and it has an arrow pointing to your opponent's side of the field. They can summon extra deck monster to that zone, but that's to kind of balance Links out, and ultimately I think that's the way you want to go as opposed to having so much power on your one side of the field. Now, one of the other cons to Links is that if you get a really Link spammy deck, they're going to summon 5 or 6 Link monsters in the same turn. Gokis was really good at doing this. Gokis had that really easy, especially after the Nightmare engine came out, where you have Nightmare Goblin, you got Nightmare Unicorn, you got Nightmare Phoenix.
Nightmare Unicorn, $40.
Whatever, I got it for free. Well, not really for free. I got it out of a pack. I was happy about that. I got it out of a box of Flames of Destruction. Yeah, you can do that all you want.
I still got to order one.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And I got to pay for that truck I broke.
Well, sucks to be you. But anyway, with the whole going into the Nightmare engine, Goki's very easily created that whole engine where they can easily create the extra link. And Gokis can shut your opponent out of being able to special summon monsters at all. In terms of between their effect negation, between just having the extra link, you can have 7 monsters on your side of the field. And if you got the right combination of monsters, your opponent can't do anything. So I can see the neg to Links there. And unfortunately, Links in a way have gotten spammy here, especially and very quickly, much sooner than other cards. But at the same time, the game progresses forward. You can't stay stuck in the past forever.
You can try,
You can try.
but you're not gonna go very far.
No, and that's another competitive scene. We'll actually talk about later.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Whether you like it or not, to go with the competitive, Master Rule 4 is it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with... Your opponent can't say, oh, I'm okay with you running Master Rule. No, they can't do that. You're at a tournament, you run Master Rule 4.
Yep. There's
Home tournaments that, like, the birthday one I did, fine. But
at the same
Master Rule 4 is it.
right, and that's the way it's gonna be. No one's gonna no one in a tournament setting is gonna go like, oh, we'll play Master Rule 3 just for you. No, not gonna happen. That would never be allowed. It would never go anywhere.
Yeah, Master Rule 3 is dead. Get over it. It's one of those deals.
The game moves forward, and who knows? Maybe eventually they'll make changes to the way links work. Maybe they'll change the mechanic itself. We got another couple of years of links happening. So
Yeah, because how long did we sit through pendulums before links?
everything runs 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
So, because we had synchros, we had for 3 years.
Weird
Like
for a 22-year-old game.
Well, 22 years old. It's only from 96 from the manga. The card game didn't start until 99, and it was a Bandai run game. That's the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fact for you. Bandai originally made the cards. They were a lot different. The card game got started, I think, in like 99 for
Yu-Gi-Oh!
real.
Season 0 is garbage.
I think it's pretty fun.
Screw the rules, I have green
But
hair.
anyway, yeah, we had synchros from 2008 to 2011. We had Exceeds from 2011 to 2014. We had Pendulums from 2014 to 2017. And now we're in the Link era from probably 2017 till
19 or 20.
2020. So we're going to have, this is what we've got for the next 2 years in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can play the old style retro games if you want. If you're playing a deck that doesn't require the extra deck, maybe you're playing Monarchs, maybe you're playing Exodia, that's fine.
Pay the piper.
That's such a broken card.
That's a rogue deck profile I had a long time ago. If you're playing
Still.
a deck that doesn't require the extra deck, then it shouldn't matter to you either way. But at the same time, I can understand why people have problem with links, and I can understand why people have problem adjusting to it. Overall, I think it'll come to a point where, it'll always be polarized. Like for me, I was never for pendulums. Getting 2 extra zones on the field for 1, and then being able to special summon from your extra deck up to 5 monsters every single turn, basically for free. In addition to all that, getting to make plays with those cards, that just seemed a little broken to me. And I never liked pendulums, and you can crucify me for that all you want in the comments.
I didn't even bother to learn pendulums until Links came out.
Yeah, by that which point they were less relevant.
Exactly. I was like, you know what? I don't run these. I don't care for them. Yeah, people spam them.
Wait, no, it's mine.
But for me, I thought they were pointless. They weren't what I wanted. I ran pretty much a little rogue budget deck because I was a poor, broke, basic... What? I can't say that on YouTube.
Yes, you can.
Can you? Oh, yeah. So I was a basic bitch. Poor, broke, basic bitch.
Trell from Team APS is fucking all the time.
Then you got Levinsky, who's... I'm not going into that one.
I am my turn.
You're bad.
On your draw,
I am, but he loves it.
Distributing my back jack.
As long as he loves it, it's okay.
Anyway, that's really all I have to say on links. Everyone has their own opinion on them. You'll form your own in time if you haven't already. You're returning to the game. Give them a shot. See what you think of them. If you don't want to play with them, play without an extra deck.
Yeah,
decks.
build a rogue deck that doesn't need it,
Exactly.
Because he runs Trick Stars, which are one of the current metas, and you can run it without the links. You can physically do it.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I pull off that one combo that doesn't matter whether I have anything on the field or not.
Exactly. He's doing it all the time. So you don't necessarily need an extra deck. He's always burning my ass.
That's how it goes.
Yes, that's how it goes.
So that's
He'll get that a lot.
That's
You'll
fine.
notice that. But, I don't know. Anything anybody else want to add about links, pros, cons, such and such?
Suck it up. There's an entire cycle of links built for elements that just work magic.
Also, I don't know if people actually get this, but
To me, for some of my own decks, that's a hindrance.
It's not.
for
I thought
links,
Yurgil wouldn't work and
you can
just saw
actually
them pop off.
you can actually do some work with links. Like, for example, dark hole effects are easier now. So that means you can have like up to 4 dark holes in a deck, considering because some link monsters destroy all monsters on the field. You also have like different things that you couldn't actually fit into your deck, like, for example, spell and trap removal are built into some link monsters.
That is true.
And so you can actually, instead of having to actually physically put the card in, use a link monster to do it. It's easier that way.
And we're right now, with us being in the in a very monster-heavy time in the game, really, you know, with spell and trap removal not being a thing in terms of like spell and trap cards, you know, people do still play Twin Twisters, people do still play to an extent Heavy Storm Duster, but to have monsters that remove cards, it's so much easier. It doesn't take up clunky space in your deck. You can run your spells for other things, and if you're playing traps in your deck, then you can run your traps for other things instead of like running Mystical Space Typhoons or running Twin Twisters. You can have your link monsters and your other monsters do it for you.
Yeah, because I've noticed links have cleared up a lot of room in decks.
Yeah, because you can run other things in them as opposed to running, you know, running 3 Twin Twisters instead of running, you know, your Dark Hole, instead of running your Raigeki. Raigeki coming back from the ban list, and at one point was played in like every deck, is now relegated to a side deck card for the most part.
Yeah.
That says something about Raigeki itself, and just like how monster removal itself isn't even that important because monsters float in the graveyard and in the banish zone now. And you get rid of, you know, some of these monsters and it's like, I'm gonna get stuff out of it anyway. You can use the graveyard as a second hand sometimes. That's all I really got to say.
Bring back Pot of Greed.
Pot of Greed, what does it do?
I get to
Draw 2 cards for free.
Stormform.
Really? I thought it had some other like cost to it or like more card text. Hey, free Stratos.
Yeah, right?
Free money, go straight.
Yeah, bring back, Konami, bring back Pot of Greed. I want my Pot of Greed back.
I
haven't been able to use it in years. I want it.
I don't think it's going to ever come back.
It's not, but I can ask politely.
Stratos never really did anything to get banned.
Whatever. He's got like 83 targets he can search.
He still would not be broken in the current meta.
This is true, but
We'll get back to the meme-worthy cards later.
yeah, we might do a whole thing on meme-worthy cards.
I mean, we kind of hit Pot of Greed and Stratos. Konami recently actually addressed the Pot of Greed meme.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they did. They in an official release, they said something like Pot of Greed explained what does it do.
Of course. So, alright everybody, that's it for this one. If you like what you see, of course hit the like and subscribe button, hit the little notification bell right down in, I think it's this little corner right here somewhere.
It's in the lower right corner if you're looking at it from mobile.
Yeah, your right, my left, right here.
It's somewhere
Right here.
somewhere down there in that
Yeah.
general area of
Yeah.
like here, there.
But
everywhere.
yeah, go ahead, hit that, and we will see you in the next video.